here's part 3. The next book I finished is You Must Be Layla by Yassmin Abdel-Magied. This is book 1. Apparently there's going to be a second book following this character after this book. I didn't know that when I saw reading this book, but when I went on to Goodreads to mark it as read, that's what showed up. So then you know. This is I think a middle grade book about Layla. In the beginning of the book, she just goes to a new school. It takes place in Australia. Layla herself is Sudanese, which is also where the authors. So the main character, she is a Sudanese. She's Muslim. Here's a picture of, well, illustration of her. She is very interested in inventing things. So at her new school, there's this robot competition that she wants to enter. There's also a theme of bullying and Islamophobia in this book. This was an alright read. I really liked reading about Layla and her family and their religion, their culture. Layla seemed a very nice character, I liked that she was interested in like science and robotics and stuff, and also in jewelry. But the way that some of the characters talked, and with this I mean, so they're like, I guess, young teenagers, it felt a bit off to me. Now I'm not a teenager, so obviously I can't, and I'm not like Sudanese Australian either, so it just seemed, I don't know, it just, yeah, it seemed a bit over the top or something. I don't know. I really enjoyed the first half of this book, and then I put it down for a few days, and then I thought I should finish this. So I don't really know, that it could be due to me and whatever else I was reading and stuff that was going on in my life and the world and such. So I don't know. So this was okay, but I didn't love it. And yeah, I don't quite know why, but yeah, other than how the children, young teenagers talked, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Also, one thing that happened later on in the book seemed kind of obvious to me that was going to happen, but obviously spoilers, so yeah, I don't know. This was alright, but no, like, I don't know yet if I'll be picking up the next book or not, but then I shouldn't buy many books for the foreseeable future anyway, so, because money issues anyway. Yeah, so I think it is great that older children, or maybe really young teenagers, have books with this representation in it. It makes it feel this. Obviously I'm not Muslim, so definitely seek out like voices, reviews of, you know, this was alright. It wasn't bad, it wasn't great. Now we get to 2 non-fiction books and then another fiction book. And obviously if I finish anything else this month, I will add it to this video. So the next book is Neurotribes by Steve Silberman. Jack from Spreadbook Joy inspired me to pick this up. She read, I think, 2/3 of it an earlier time. So this is a non-fiction book about autism. I am autistic, for those who don't know, and I am very interested in autism memoirs and also non-fiction books about autism. The text here says, "The legacy of autism and how to think smarter about people who think differently." I don't know if you can read that or not, but... And I think it's easiest if I talk about this book and the next one in the same bit, because the next book is In a Different Key, The Story of Autism by Donvan and Caren Zucker. And this book is also about the history of autism. Now this book, In a Different Key, I saw this at my library several years ago, the Dutch edition, but I didn't have enough time to read it. So I handed it back in and then bought my own English copy. And I read the first 2 chapters in this at the time, but then didn't continue it because I was reading several other books at once, and yeah, anyway, stuff happened. I don't quite remember. And now, because of Neurotribes, since they have various similarities that I will be talking about, I decided to pick it up again now and continue on from where I stopped reading. So Neurotribes is written by a British author, whereas In a Different Key is written by 2 American authors from the US. And if you look at them side to side, you would think that Neurotribes is longer because it's thicker. But actually, the pages in Neurotribes are a lot thicker. I don't know if that comes across. Than the very thin pages in this book. And this is like a UK paperback. And this is like a, well, it's also UK paperback, but this is a floppy paperback. I don't know if that comes across. But yeah, so actually these 2 books both have lots of pages, but In a Different Key has more pages. So this one is 589 pages in total, if I'm counting bibliography and all that, index and all that. And this one is 670? Yeah, 670 I think pages, if I also count the index and everything. I obviously didn't read, you know, the index, but I did read the notes. But yeah. So, they are both about a similar subject, which is why I read them kind of at the same time. Which does make it harder for me to talk about them, because sometimes it's hard to remember which bit I read in which book, if that makes sense. But since they both talk about the history of autism, I kind of read them like the same time period at the so like one chapter and this, that kind of thing. Not quite, but you get what I mean. So it would have made, now that I finished them, thinking, oh, this could have been a great video idea. Which one did it better? But that's not how it worked out. I don't tend to think of my reading as in what would make a great video idea, because I'm a mood reader. I know some booktubers do, and hey, great for you. My videos come after I read the books, and then just talk about the books I read. So my memories of these books are a little bit intermingled because I read them kind of at the same time. So yeah, but a few differences. So they do have different like accents. No, that's not the correct translation. Oh, I don't know what the word is that I mean in English, but different ways of telling it, different areas that they put more nuance on, if that makes sense. So In a Different Key, in general, is slightly more detailed in some cases. For example, when certain developments or people or scientists are discussed, they usually talk about like their history and their past and stuff like that, which may or may not be relevant. I found that very nice. The good thing about Neurotribes, in my opinion, is that I feel that this one was more, I don't quite know how to put it, but seeing autism as a different neurotype and using person first language, saying autistic people rather than people with autism, whereas In a Different Key was more, I don't want to say neutral, but there was less emphasis on that, if that makes sense. I feel like Neurotribes, because in the history of autism, there are quite a few tragic and terrible things that happen, and I feel like Neurotribes condemned that more in how the writing style was in comparison to this book, which stayed more neutral. I don't know how else to call it. That's just my opinion though. So content warnings for both of these books, if you know anything about the history of autism, for ableism, Nazis, also some racism, the R word, all discussed in a historical context. So like it is generally between quotation marks, as for example the title of a paper back then or stuff like that, but it is in here. Also a content warning for transphobia, but I don't remember which of these 2 books discussed that case, that person. But yeah, some horrible things that happened in institutions, people being killed off because they were autistic. And so yeah, sometimes specific chapters were hard to read because of that, because it just made me feel for all the pain that these people went through, and yeah, so definitely content warnings for that, just so you are aware of that going into it. ABA, or applied behavioral analysis, is also discussed in these books, so another content warning for that. Vaccines, Rain Man the movie, although I don't know if that should be a content warning or not, but content anyway. And regarding that transphobia I mentioned, there was a young child who is trans, and they used a certain therapy on the person, and it was awful, basically. But I don't remember which of the two that was in, because that was in only one of them. But yeah, it just also content warning for suicide. And yeah, so some of these parts in history are quite heavy, hard-hitting topics. So please tread with carefulness, if you know. But now on to what I actually thought about this book, because I've just been talking about the content but not what I actually thought, I think. Have I? Anyway, I really like both these books. I found them very interesting. Like I said, they are different. So if I had to choose, I think because of the more anti-ableist message in Neurotribes, I would pick this one. But In a Different Key had some more details regarding certain things, which I also appreciated. Now, obviously, In a Different Key is written by two American authors, as far as I know, so it talks a bit more in depth about some of these American cases, whereas Neurotribes is British, which also talks about the American cases, but well, they both talk about the UK and the US and Austria, but yeah, just in a bit of a different way, different order as well. So it's not all chronologically. This book, by the way, In a Different Key, has a autism timeline at the well, I would say at the back, but not quite. But after the book ends, which I thought was also quite useful. So yeah, I liked both of these a lot. I found it really interesting. Obviously, well, being autistic myself, I am really interested in things like this. I understand that that's not the case for everybody, which fair enough. Although I would prefer everybody to know at least something about autism, because that I think is good. But yeah, so yeah, I really like both of these, and yeah, they both had a nice writing style, different from how they told things, but I thought it was both really good. I feel like maybe what I said about this book made it sound like it was not good or harsh, but I found it really interesting. It also read really nicely with the floppiness. The pages were quite thin, in the sense that I was sipping some water at some point, and I don't remember now where, but a drop of water fell on it, and it went through the pages. Several pages turned out wet, if that makes sense. But you know, that I guess makes for a more affordable book to buy. So that's also nice for my wallet. And yeah, I really liked both of these. I found them really interesting. For me personally, they were very interesting reads. And so while Invisible Women is my favorite read of the month, not only because of how amazing the book was, but also because I think that is a book that really lots of people should read, in my opinion. But for me personally, these were also really interesting and standout experiences of the month. Then we get to the last book that I read, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Riordan. This is book 1 in the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series. I buddy read this book with Emily from Novel Novels. We both loved this. Gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was funny the way it was written. So this series is about Percy Jackson, who, well, here's some on the back. I don't know it actually says half boy, half god, our hero. So I guess it's not really a secret that he is a demigod, a half-blood. So yeah, in this book it has to do with Zeus. Oh, so this has like a very much a Greek mythology. All those gods are real. Zeus's lightning bolt has been stolen. We think that Percy's done it. At least that's what it says the back. It starts off with Percy going on a class trip. I can't remember now what exactly they went, but Percy has. I really liked seeing in a book. He lives with his mother, has never seen his father, kind of, and they live with like a stepfather, a man named Gabe, who is an awful person. So this has a lot of Greek mythology in it, and when I was in high school, I was taught ancient Greek, and we had a class course in like classical culture. I'm trying to translate, which was about like art periods and about various aspects. And so not only was I taught about stuff in high school, I was also very interested in Greek mythology. Actually, I think it was kind of a special interest for a while. And also back then I read a lot of books about it as well, reading the myths. So yeah, it was nice to remember some of that stuff reading this book, because we meet various characters, gods and demigods and creatures, and I really enjoyed this a lot, and I look forward to read the second book with Emily and the rest of the series. Here they are, or at least that's the covers I have this year, because yeah, this was amazing, really. I look forward every day to read pages in this. The chapter titles are also pretty funny, in my opinion. I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea and humor, but I liked it. So here is some of the chapter titles. I don't know if you can read that. I don't want to show the whole page in case, you know, that could maybe kind of be spoilers. But yeah, I really liked it. It's got lots of action in it, also quieter moments. It's funny. Yeah, I look forward to see how the series continues and what else is going to happen. So that is, at the moment, all of the books that I read in February. Here they are. But yeah, so all in all, I think about half of this, yeah, so 11 books, so I think 6 more. So 5 fiction books and 6 non-fiction books. So I actually read more non-fiction than fiction, which I think I said the other way around in the beginning of this video, because somehow my brain was thinking 11 is 6 plus 7. That's very unusual for me. But yeah, I really enjoyed my non-fiction reads this month, and I still feel in that mood, so I'm just going to see where it takes me. But I do have a couple of buddy reads planned of fiction books, so we will see. So I do plan on reading some fiction, definitely, for sure, as well as that I'm still reading bits of the Wheel of Time Companion, which is fiction, but it's also kind of non-fiction about the fictional world, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's definitely fiction, but it's not a story. So yeah, anyway, thank you very much for watching part 3 of my February videos. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again in my next video. Bye!